there is a particular sound that I want from the guitar, I can get that sound with an arch top, with an old DeArmond floating pickup. I have that. I have the amps, but I could demonstrate that sound right now, except you will not hear it the way necessarily I hear it. Your hearing isn't what my hearing is. I hear it analog. You would be hearing it in various forms of digital compression on different size speakers. But this YouTube, and I will demonstrate this sound at the end, but this YouTube is how to get that sound from a totally different box. I don't want to mess with amplifiers. I don't want to mess with the cables. I have taken a shortcut, I think, and this YouTube is how to take a guitar that's got a neck that you really like the way it feels, and you have demonstrated that you, through breadboarding, can get the sound you want. So this is how we're going to do. This is the guitar. It is a cheap Rogue from you-know-where, plywood throughout. It happens to have a very good feeling neck. Frets are a little high for my taste, but I can take care of that. So what I want to do is get this guitar to sound like a 1953 floating DeArmond pickup on an old arch top in a VFW Hall concrete dance floor honky tonk. I can do that, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to take this guitar into pieces. We're going to take this off. We're going to take this off. I'll explain why later. First, we're going to make some measurements of string spacing and bridge height and scale length, because when this comes off, a tailpiece is going on. I will cut a port in the back that will permit me to install everything that is in this pig nose. I can make this pig nose with some added capacitors and different little pieces of electronicry. Make this system sound like this 1950 smoky cocktail lounge beer joint type guitar. And let's see if we can do this. As I said earlier, there's some measurements we really need to make just so we'll be able to have a reference when we start tearing this thing up. First thing, of course, is going to be scale length. When this comes up, we'd like to have some idea where we're going to put our floating bridge after we put our tailpiece on. So our string scale length, we can just do it this way. Okay, just take this end, and we've got 25 and 8, 9, 10, 29 and 25 and 11/16 at the 6th string. At the 1st string we got 25 and 9/16, so there's an 1/8 inch difference in this slant. That's good to know. We can write down our 25 11/16 here for scale length on the 6th, 25 9/16 for scale length on the 1st string. Now that takes care of our scale length. We need to know something about our width in here. Now there's no law saying where you can line up this 6th and 1st string. However, I drape a thumb over the 6th string on occasion, and that can pull the string, so I don't want this string any closer to the radius of that fret end as I can get. So that looks fine to me. Same thing over here. I might be stretching a string, bending a string, so that width looks fine. So what is this string width here? Well, let's use the digital. This is just faster. I can't use the strings because this is very cheap material here. This is already broken off. The 6th string has rolled over this side, so I'm going to use the center of the pegs as a reference for string width, since it looks right on the neck. So that turns out being 273 thousandths. Let's see, here we go. Yeah, 273 thousandths. Okay, that's, yes, 273 thousandths. Okay, we've got that. Now we'd kind of like to know height, how much relief I have in the neck. It doesn't have quite enough the way it is now, though it is loosened quite a bit because the fret's a little high. And I'll take care of that later, and we'll talk about how we're going to do that. But right now, let's just take a height at the third string. The fourth string is good enough. We can use the calipers here again. This is just about as good a way as any. We can make it whatever we want to make it later. Okay, 194, but that 194 is at the top of the string, but we're going to be setting this up possibly with different diameter strings, so we really have to know what the space is underneath the string. This string is 27 thousandths, so we'll take away the 27 thousandths from what we measure from the top of the string to the top of the neck. That will give us the space from here to the neck. If we cared, I'm not going to measure the top of the frets because I know the top of the frets are going to be going down some. So these are reference numbers we can always go back to by going to the fretboard and basically the dimension between the bottom of this string and the fretboard. Yes, there's a radius here, but there's a radius here and a radius on the nut. We will keep those radiuses the same, but we need a measurement that we can always refer back to. So we have, let's get the string height here. Same thing, let's take the third string. Since we know what the radius is going to be, we can come, that didn't work too good, let's try it again. There we go. Okay, 510 thousandths, again, 510 thousandths, take off the diameter of that 027 string, that's the dimension then from there down. So we have this dimension, we have this dimension, we have this dimension, we have this dimension. So there's not many things we can do that will really screw up the musicality and the intonation of the guitar. So we've got our bass line, as it were. While this may not seem like it, this really does have something to do with working on a guitar. This is carpet protector that you can get at any number of places. This came from Home Depot. And if you're real sure that your carpet where you've been working on your guitar doesn't have little bits of string and sharp metal, you can do it this way. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because I don't want this to stick too good on the guitar as you're fixing to see. So I'm taking away some of the stickiness. I don't want this to be on the guitar a long time. My projects aren't supposed to last the rest of my life. It seems like it sometimes, but this is just a good way to protect your finish of guitar. At one time I thought I would just strip the finish off the guitar because I'm going to beat it up anyhow, and then I had this other thought. Nah, I don't want to do that. The finish looks too nice. I might as well try to protect it. So this is the way you protect it. So where we are now, we've got the finish protected in this sticky film business that I showed previously. This will protect the surface from little scuffs and scratches, but obviously not gouges, but we have to be careful with that. I did not protect the back of the neck. I'm going to steel wool this anyway. I don't like the way finish necks. I steel wool my necks. I did not leave the tuners on it. The tuners that came on the thing were really not that good. I've ordered some better tuners from Stuart McDonald, StuMac, which is where I get guitar parts. Now I did go ahead and put masking tape around these two pieces here. I want to remove the pick guard. We're going to remove the bridge. I did reach inside. This is not held down with screws. I'm going to hope it's held down with something that hot moisture will help it release, and I'll be pushing a little gouge underneath this to start raising it up as I think it's starting to loosen. So that's the next order of business. This is coming up amazingly well, but I don't know why it wouldn't. It just has some tape, double-sided tape holding it down. The steam you see is me hitting this wet piece of paper here that I'm using to try to get a little moisture into that bridge. This is discarded. Can't use that again. Who cares? And that the sticky, except for that one little place right there, and mineral spirits, naphtha, several other things, will take this little part here off. Now I'll put some more of this thin stuff down over that, protects that. Of interest to me is I don't know what the finish is yet. I don't know if this is a nitrate finish, probably not, or if it's just polyurethane, but I need to find that out before I start trying to clean off the sticky part here. I don't want to dissolve the finish. I'm trying to save as much of the finish as I can. And now we'll see if I can start getting this off with this. At some point, while trying to finesse it off with heat and moisture, thought occurred to me, I don't know what kind of glue this thing's glued on with. It could be something I didn't want to respond to heat and moisture, so I tried to finesse it a little bit. That didn't work, and I thought, why spend a lot of time on something that I probably wouldn't use again, even if I got it off in one piece? So you fall back to plan B, well, plan A for some people. Just take it off in pieces any way you can get it off. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do this on a really good guitar. Though I have, normally I would not. Okay, this came off pretty much as I expected. The problem with flat top guitars, and I've had this problem before, it's in a case like Yamaha's, it's 3 plies of spruce, a millimeter per ply. The top ply has about 3/10 of a millimeter sanded off, so you got about a 7/10 millimeter top veneer. They'll glue the bridge on, and then some little gentleman will come along with a knife to trim away the excess glue that could have been coming out underneath the edge. What happens then is they're cutting through this top ply, so when you get ready to lift the bridge, anyhow you want to get it off. Some of the plies are going to come up with it. No big problem. You're going to cover it with either another bridge, or in this case a cover plate, because I'm going to have to, I'll patch these, I'll get this smoothed down, and then I don't know what floating bridge I'm going to use, but it's going to be something like this, and there'll be a plate underneath it kind of raising it up a little bit. So this is really no problem. I'm not that surprised. This, by the way, would not happen if it was a single piece of material. There'd just be more structure there. Now we have the hose plugged with dowels. This is flush through here. I can't feel any unevenness on this, so this is perfectly stable through here. It's flush. And now, before we start making any center line marks on this, the back, the end, I've already put a line here. We need to figure out basically what size hatch do we want to put in the back to install that. Well, let's see. As I said earlier, we are going to put this inside the guitar, but first let's start disassembling this thing. This is a great little amplifier. I'm really impressed with it. I wish there was some way I could use this little pig nose knob on the guitar. I don't think I'll be able to do that, but that is always an option. What we got to do is get the operating systems in this little box out of this box so it can go in the guitar. There's your battery supply. There's the speaker. I'm not convinced I'm going to use that speaker. We'll see as we get there. Here's the amplifier. In this little box is the AC power supply to drive the amp from the AC line. I plan on installing this also in the box so I can plug an AC line directly in the back of the guitar. This will both charge the internal batteries as well as power the amplifiers. Now, let me say something about the internal batteries. I don't know how long these 6 AA's are going to last. I wouldn't go to the trouble of building a guitar and installing something like this. I'm going to be installing things like 2 amp rapid recharge nickel cadmium batteries, and 2 amps is going to run that thing quite a while, and it's going to take me at the maximum 15 minutes to recharge. So you can recharge the guitar and all of these internal amplifiers during a break, basically. So let's go ahead and disassemble this to see how many pieces and at what size they are, and then we'll be able to determine what size hatch we need to cut in the back of the guitar. This turned out being rather simple. You just have to take the nuts off the back, same thing off the little 9-volt adapter, the preamp. Poke those through, open them up. 4 screws takes the amp loose. There's the connectors we just undone, and now we just need to take out the speaker and the battery pack. 1, 2, 3, 4 little screws like this. Took this off the back of the amplifier. Somewhere laying out here are the nuts that hold the inputs there. 4 screws take this out, and 4 screws took the speaker out. Not 4 screws, 4 little acorn nuts. And now the only thing I need to get out is going to be this part here that comes off. Now I just need 2 sockets, 2 socket wrench jobs there, and the whole pig nose will be out for our use to put in the guitar, with modifications to the electronics, of course. Okay, now we have the input, volume control, the speaker, and the amp. So that's the whole thing, and now what we got is just a really cute box. I'm not so sure I'm through with this box yet, but at the moment I am. So we can put the box aside. Here's what's going inside the amplifier. We don't need all of this, so we're going to take loose this part here. We don't need that. We don't need that. Sure wish I could use that little pig nose. Isn't that cute? Nah, that's a little gaudy. Next order of business is trying to figure out where we're going to cut access through the back of this guitar to put the electronics in it we want. We know we want the speaker in the front through this area here. We want the electronics in the front here, so the amp's going to be up here somewhere. So we have to have access here. We're not going to have anything in this area here, front or back, so we can leave that intact. I'm going to need access to this edge here, going this way, this area here, the area up here. But for the most part, this area, these two areas here are not going to be disturbed, but we have to get access to this area through here because we've got to make this guitar much more rigid inside and put in extra braces to take out all the acoustic properties of the top. So now I'm going to lay out some tape and figure out where I'm going to cut into the back of this guitar. Okay, we've laid out a hatch here for a continuous saw. I'm going to use a saber saw. That's what I have. A saber saw is hardly more than a mechanized hatchet, but I think I'll be able to do it okay. I have some fallback plans if this doesn't work the way I want it to. I could probably make the biggest mess by trying to start different cuts and go to 90-degree angles. I'm opting to go this way, making a little more work for myself, but of course if I was trying to avoid work I wouldn't be doing this at all. Now there are ladder braces in here, but I'm not sawing up one. The brace is here. The same thing true for a brace being here. I'm sawing across them, of course. I have to have access to particular areas here, so this will give it. I can go on both sides of the neck block and the tail block with flat pieces from the top of the guitar back to this surface here. The electronics can go into this area there. The speaker can go in and back over here. So I have plenty of access here. I've left as much wall back around here as I can. So I guess the next order of business is to see if we can saw this out. Content with the way this was cut. I'll go ahead and just knock the fuzz off these corners. I don't want to put a radius on these corners because I will finish this in black and this edge in black, so when this is laid back in, it'll look okay. What's going to take place is I'm going to cut, using this as a pattern, some aircraft birch. It'll have about a 1/4 inch lip. So when this is put back down on it, it'll be flush here. They'll be secured by some rather large head, probably 1/4 nylon bolts. I don't know how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8. I don't know yet. They'll be secured however the best way is. I'm glad that is as rigid as it is. So the guitar being plywood everywhere, and not particularly thin ply either. The top is more than 3 millimeters, I'm sure, and this is looks like a full 1/8 inch. So this is a sturdy guitar, and that's what we're going to need by the time we load all the batteries and things in here that we need. But first we're going to make the braces that'll go on here that will take all the acoustic properties out of this top, because when we get through with it we want to be able to hear the amplifier and not a bunch of wires buzzing on a piece of flat wood. This is just a trial fit of the pickup. To get the sound I want, I've trimmed off the ends of the fretboard a little bit, move the pickup as far forward as I can get. This necessitated cutting out part of the sound hole, and this is going to be where it's going to end up. It's time now that we start doing some bracing inside the guitar, and to do that we need to understand what kind of loads are on a flat top. We know that with peg holes, the bridge is sitting here, the saddle's here, and the tendency is to want to roll that bridge this direction. We've all seen where bridges have separated on this back side. This part has been pushed down, this lifted, very common in ladder brace guitars, not so with X-braced or V-braced guitars. But so we know that this wants to get pushed down, this wants to get pulled up. Well, we got rid of this. This is gone. So with a tailpiece, we're still going to have the same idea that the strings want to pull the nut down inside that sound hole, bend that neck some way this direction. Well, with a tailpiece on it, this strength, this stretch can be quite good. The bridge, the floating bridge here, the tension is not going to be to roll, it's going to be pushed down. That's okay. We're going to brace the inside of the top of this guitar considerably to get rid of any acoustic properties that this top may have. And there's several ways we're going to be able to do that. Now, also in the process of with a flat top, this coming this way, there is a tendency for the pressure for the neck to roll this direction, not only just bend, but actually to push down here. We've seen actually in older dry guitars, this split through here, not much of a problem with a plywood guitar, particularly one that's braced as vigorously as this one's been braced. But still, that is the inclination, is to push down here. This means that the neck block has to rotate this way. We're going to make sure that the neck block and the tail block stay perfectly parallel. If we can ensure that, then this guitar is going to be more stable than it was as a flat top. It's going to be more stable than it would be if it was an arch top acoustic. Now, this top is a little over 3 millimeters thick, so it was sanded after the ply was made, so to speak. Now, the old Gaki Japan Yamahas, the FG 120s, 140s, those guitars, the 1970 guitars, were made in the factory in Japan, where the old people there had built wood organs for years, and they knew how to handle wood. And yes, that the 120s, 140s have a very light, less than 3 millimeter top. They're lightly braced. They sound absolutely great. They are spruce tops. They are spruce ply tops. Now, people call them solid tops. The only guitars I know that have voids in them are the double-topped guitars, that has Nomex and have actually voids in it. This plywood is solid wood, but that's just a term we use to show that it isn't laminate. Solid top is not laminate. All my plywood guitars have solid tops. So we have got this positioned the way we want it. We can put it aside. It'll go in when we're ready. Now, we remember about this bracing business. What I did here, I didn't want to sand this very much, but I don't want to, because more we sand this edge, the bigger that gap's going to be. But I don't want to look at fuzz or saw marks, so I sanded it lightly. There is some chipping here, even though we used a fine saw blade, fine-tooth saw blade. This chipping is really not in the wood. It's in the finish. This finish is more brittle than I would have thought, but we'll handle that later. So what we need to do now is put the braces in between this side, sitting down against the top to the tail piece. That's just going to take some cutting and fitting and work like that. I have some old 1/4 inch balsa that's not good for model airplanes. I'm going to cut it and glue it inside some of these again to try to make this top more dull acoustically. I'm going to glue it in with contact cement again because I just want to soften the sound on this top. I don't want to hear twangy strings when I play it. So this is where we are now, and we can get on now with cutting the braces. A lot of their inside spruce really looks a whole lot like pine, doesn't it? Where we are now is that I've got the first half of the box beam that's going to go, that'll secure the guitar longitudinally. I didn't want to make this hatch larger and I wanted to put these pieces in the full length. I couldn't get them in there. I had to then, after many little pieces of paper cutting templates that would fit, I then had these pieces the full length. I couldn't get them in, so I sectioned them through the middle. This will next go in, glue them, clamp up, glue on both sides of the tail block, butt against this, and then I will put this doubler plate like this. That will make it as secure as if it had been one piece. The holes in it, by the way, is not light to lighten it. It's to give me access and run wires and things like that. I don't want to get cramped in any more than I have to be. If I wanted to do a little threading job, I wouldn't have made the hatch this large. So next step is to block this up, clamp it good, put the doublers on it, and then let that sit up and get good and dry. I'm using Titebond. I could use faster glues, but I just feel more comfortable using Titebond for the box. I will use faster glues for the rest of it, but not for the box. We have both sides of the box beam now. I'm double glued it, add a couple little pieces of spruce here and there to make it a little stronger and help mute the top. This beam will stay open at the top until I get some of the other reinforcing done. This is all the structure the guitar is going to get now, besides the couple of vertical compression web. Right now the effort would be to collapse these or spread it open, but once I put the compression webs in, these will be fixed in distance, and there's nothing else we can do to make this guitar more stable. Next will be adding balsa in areas around here. Try to get rid of this top, whatever sounds can be left in it. We don't want any sound in the top. I'll reinforce this area back here to take a couple of jacks, reinforce the area here and here, so the knobs and the pots going through the front will be firm, be stationary. There's a few little odds and ends I'll reinforce this area up here to take a strap. This is not going to be a light guitar, and I don't mean for it to be, so a comfortable strap will be necessary. Most likely, even when playing while sitting, it will just, I think, we'll see. We'll see. But this is where we stand now. We're getting it done. Where we are now. The pickup is installed. It's where it needs to be. I cut this little edge off here to get the pickup a little closer forward. I've gone further, except this guitar has the truss rod adjustment at the heel and not at the machine head end. So this is really about as far as I could go. To adjust the relief, this will have to come out. This is secured by one screw from the back. This plate will be stained to cover this area here. I will have a floating bridge then that will go here. The tailpiece, I could have ordered a fancy one, but somehow with this guitar, this old stamped out steel one from heaven I don't know how far back, I preferred it. It just looks right. I put 3 holes, countersunk them. The holes are drilled in the tail block for it. A lot of work has been done inside. This comes out from there's a screw that goes inside to hold it in its place. So this cut here is so I can rotate this and take it out. Here's where the screw hole here goes to hold that. This will be stained. Actually, it looks like orange shellac is going to be this is the polyurethane finish. I found that out. This is not a nitrate, cellulose nitrate finish. This is polyurethane. So I'll put amber shellac. Look, it looks okay. I'm not going to be able to match this. So inside I've put these two compression webs in, and I have glued in all this old 1/2 inch or 3/8 inch, I guess it is, balsa that wasn't good for model airplane work. I was going to use contact cement, but then I considered what it was I was trying to accomplish as far as deadening the top, so I decided to use Gorilla Glue, and lots of it, since it foams up, and that will really help the purposes of what I set out to do. This is enforced in this area here now. The holes are drilled for this. This will be actually a preamp output from the amplifier. It's going to be in the guitar. This will be a 9-volt input here for the little power supply that runs the amplifier. I haven't done anything to these yet. These are going to be lengthened for the most part. I did put a block in this area here so that I could put a guitar button, strap button. I left this one back here. The amplifier is installed, well, temporarily right now, but this is how it's going to be. But these wires be threaded through. The circuit board is held with 4 little screws to this piece, and there's just 2 screws here hold it in, so I can get it in and out reasonably well. The pots are going to go into, I did put the plywood doublers here, so the hose for the pot will be at the top front bout, not on the sides. This will be leveled here just a little bit, and then I will decide how I'm going to cut the grill work in this area. I just don't know yet. I don't want to take out these braces here, but it doesn't make a whole lot of difference the way we're tightening up this top. The speaker will go basically in this area here. Quite a bit of time has been spent on it since the last little scene we had. Can't tell it too much, but a lot of work has been done. Last time the electronics were temporarily installed. That hasn't changed. The plywood reinforcings in, that are the compression webs in, and of course the speaker is not quite in, but this is where it's going to go. I'm starting to worry about feedback, both acoustical and electrical, and I'm starting to mentally consider where I'm going to run some wires. But this is where the speaker will go. This is held to that ring, and then this is held to that ring. Will be screwed to this one. So that's pretty much what the grill is going to look like. I haven't final sanded it yet. This is completed. It'll be over here covering this mess here, and it'll give me a good foundation that I'll be able to put the floating bridge on. And tailpiece, well, this goes in here. And that flops down there and is screwed. So this is where we are now. I will blacken. I'll shellac these edges here to put a little orange in it, some orange shellac just to seal it, and then I'll put black in here, and then I'll put black grill cloth in from the other side, and it will look fine. This, by the way, obviously is not so much of a how-to exercise as it is as much as a what-to. If anybody's interested in trying something like this, I'm not showing how I cut this stuff. I assume that whoever would want to attempt something similar would know how to use a saw and various tools. Structurally, we're well over the hump now. The film is off of it. There's a few little places of sticky I need to take off with mineral spirits. The back is held in with 1032 nylon pan heads. This lip, 16th inch birch ply, was glued with CYA underneath. These are reinforced here with little pieces of poplar. These are drilled and tapped for the 1024 screws. CYA was put in there, it was set up, and then I retapped it so the threads are hard and secure. This now is blacked in, so the black grill cloth will go in and look okay. I have the tube in, and the port for the tube still got some scuffing, little sticky place I need to get rid of here. And the little vent, I need to touch up a little place here, but this is the cardboard tube that 1.25 inches in diameter and a little over 4 inches long. This is going to let me hear what the speaker's doing, and also at the same time the length and diameter of this little tube here is going to pretty much make the whole guitar a ported and tuned bass reflex, and that's just going to help the playing overall. At the current time we have the wiring going in. This is the jack and neck strap. This is the jack for the pickup, directly from the pickup leaving the guitar. There's a switch I'll show you in a second that controls whether the output is to here or to the internal amplifier. Here's the 9-volt adapter input for the amplifier, preamp output from the amplifier, and this is the recharge jack to recharge the batteries. The grill cloth is in. This is black burlap, which is sufficient for what I need done. The speaker's in. I'll retouch those little places with some black paint in there just to kind of clean it up just a little bit. This is where the braces were inside the guitar. This is just protect the to give a little strength to the top there, but this is where the braces are inside the guitar. The pickup is in, hopefully for the last time. This is now secure. Like I say, I will still use this pot here, which is really just a rheostat in line with the magnet of the pickup. I haven't drilled my holes in this area yet for the pots. I know how they will go in. I know where they will go in. That will be pretty much the next step. I need to make a few more adjustments on my bridge. This will be considerably modified. This top part here, I'll have the stagger for the second string. We'll see that when I get it done. So I'll be able to string this up then. This I may shim underneath this, may take some of this height off. It's going to turn out whatever's necessary to get the relief and the clearance I want on the strings. Showing the wiring as I'm finishing it up. This will be clipped to the battery box. I'm going to try 2 amp nickel metal hydrides first, and then go to larger batteries once I see what the drain is going to be. Here's the little amplifier. I've utilized what wires I could that was on it initially. These are the preamp output, and the wiring. I've put it on this little aluminum plate, so the plate will go in this area in there, and I'll use this then, take the components off, use this for a template to drill through the top
But what we have here is the switch. If it's down here, then this tone control step will work, no tone there. This will be 0.0402 in series with 500K log pot for tone control. This is the gain switch and gain for the amp itself. And so I just have a few little connections to make. The pickup leads are not wired on here yet. That's the next thing to do. And then I'll pull the components and we'll string it and see if I've accomplished what I think I've accomplished as far as the sound goes. The speaker is in for the last time. To make it easier to work on, I did put a little connector on this that will go to the connector I've mounted on the speaker. I have strings on it. It tuned up fairly easily. I have vendor stainless steel strings on it. I don't know if I'll keep that once I work with it. I still kind of think I'll end up with some nickel wrapped strings. But I have the bridge completed. This is the right place, the right position for it. I have got the intonation right here. You can see that it's pretty much of a straight line there. Then it steps way back, and then it doesn't go quite as far forward on that one. But the intonation is absolutely dead on by a fairly accurate tuner that I have. So I'll finish wiring it up and see what it's going to sound like, and then start working with some of the capacitors to see if it's possible to do what it is I set out to do. You saw this little plate earlier. I wired all the components on this, so all I had to do is slide this in, put this in place. This would be a good ground plane, and then solder it to the amp, slide it in, and it'll all be done. Sure, that turned out not being at all practical, so this had to be dispensed with, though I did lay this on the front of the guitar and drill through it to know what the locations would be. I ended up having to do soldering down in that hole, so if anybody would want to try to do something like this, I suggest they do it like I disregarded, and that is just cut an area out of the where you want the electronics, make you a plate oversized, put the electronics on it, feed the wires through, solder the wires, and then just screw this on the top of the guitar. This is how solid guitars are wired, and there's good reason for doing it that way. I would not do what I did again, but it was a good idea. But there's a lot of things that's easy to conceive and hard to deliver, babies being one of them. So I have a little foam I put on this just to help mute the back, keep this from resonating a little bit. This kind of goes down here and holds it in a little better. So I'm ready to now screw this thing together and clean it up, and then we'll see what it sounds like. Any kind of wood, you put a heavy coat of polyurethane on it like this guitar has, and I don't care what's underneath it, the guitar is covered with plastic, and I was surprised how brittle it was. So all this chipping along here was from the saw, and had this been nitrate cellulose or a more old traditional finish, it would have not had all this chipping. I could clean that up if I cared. If I cared, could be a name of a song.
makes the sounds I wanted it to make. It has that 1950 cocktail lounge sound. If I can play it, it'll make the sounds. It has the other sounds that's in there. And it will go to that mode that so many people like. Which I don't prefer. I'm thinking I may put a few component voltage regulators in it to desensitize the gain to the amplifier, and that'll make the batteries last a little longer. I don't need overdrive and distortion, but I am content. And I have the little LED pilot lamp showing, and it cleaned up good. That looks okay. So round, so fully packed. My Rosewood J45 Gibson weighs 5, and the vendor Stratocaster average will be about 8, so it weighs a pound more than a Stratocaster. But the Stratocaster, you're going to have the amplifier to tote around, you know, and this one you've got the amplifier right with it.